All right, I am pretty exhausted. I just finished a day at work, drove from Seattle down here to Portland, and so I'm pretty tired, but I am not going to let that be an excuse to not work on my project and move forward and keep learning. So let's minimize myself here and start looking at this project. Okay. Might put myself down there. There we go. Okay. So, what's going on here? I remember that. Actually, I'm going to put this back up here and then I'm going to expand this out. And then we should be good. There we go. Okay. I like that setup better. So, what I did here was I went to Copilot and I was asking it, okay, well, I want to be able to connect to MongoDB. How do I do that? And it gave me a whole bunch of files, and I put those files in to this project. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what any of these files were, and I just kind of blindly believed it. And then I said, okay, well, we're gonna go and investigate it later. So now later has come. So that was in the last video that I just put these files in. Now in this video, I'm gonna try to look through it, try to understand what's going on. In between this video and the last video, I watched a like 2 hour long tutorial about connecting MongoDB in Java. So hopefully those concepts can kind of carry over. And I took a whole bunch of notes and was trying to look through my code that I have here as well and try to compare like, okay, well, this is the same, that's the same. But now it's time to kind of look through it, get a feel for it, and see what we can find. Okay, so first thing is let me go to the actual, I'm going to close all of this, right? And then here. Okay, so this is kind of our entry point. So we're just running our Spring application. Now, why does this start a server and why does this connect to anything, etc.? Like, why does this actually start up that server? Answer. Not in here. No. In my Palm. Okay, so once I do that run, that tells Spring to come in here and it goes and sees that I have like Spring Boot start, not that one. Spring Boot starter web. And then this, inside this code somewhere in that, it decides, or it has the bean that Spring runs and executes, and that actually does the server. Okay, so that's a question that I've had for a little while now, and I was confused about that and what's going on, but there we go. So okay, well now I also have this like Spring Boot starter MongoDB. Okay, so I'm importing like the drivers for this MongoDB. Okay. Now let me go and try to see. Okay, so application properties. This is how I'm actually connecting to my MongoDB. Now, I had MongoDB here, right? So, I need to verify that MongoDB is up. So, I'm going to come here and try to, how do I verify that my MongoDB server is listening? Okay, so I'm going to try to figure out how I make sure that it's actually running. But what's the command? But there was a command, right? Like homebrew start or something. There was a command to start it. Like, what is that? Well, that wasn't fun. make sure that I got it correct. Okay, well that's not great. All right, whatever. We'll figure out why that's not working a little bit later. So this is, I'm going to be connecting on localhost and on this port number, okay? And the URL is this. Okay. One thing that I am noticing is it just says string equals URI and then a value, but it's not actually saying like Spring Data MongoDB. So I'm not changing anything in the Spring framework. So I'm curious, like, why is that working? Although I do have the port right there, I do have the database name right there, and I have localhost there. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. Okay, so then I have these folders here. So controller, model, Mongo app, repository, and service has nothing, so we don't need to worry about that. So controller, this is where we put our mappings, okay? So supply controller, that's what I care about, okay? So I have this mapping. It's should be a get, but I don't see like get mapping. It just says request mapping. Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna ignore that for a second. Now we see this. Okay, so here's another thing that I saw in the tutorial, which was this is the wrap or repository. This is the repository down here. So this is there's another class in here. Okay, and this uses inheritance. Okay, so this is something I want to look into. I don't understand this. This uses inheritance. It's like interface. It's not a class. That was another thing that I got confused by. It's not a class. It is interface and then repository, like whatever it's called, supply repository, and then it says extends and then MongoDB, something like that, and then I pass in the struct or the structure of the documents, which I want the database to actually create. So I was like, wait, hold on. What is an interface? It's not a class. What is an interface? And interfaces apparently can have inheritance. That's weird. So I'm going to look that up. But anyways, this right here is, I'm just creating this repository. So I'm instantiating it, kind of. Now, what I don't understand is why don't I need an auto wire right there to actually create that? Because wouldn't this just be a null repository? Like, or just like a null, a pointer essentially to a supply repository, but there's nothing there. It's just a null pointer, or a pointer to null. So I'm gonna come in here and just do that. Why do I not need auto wired above the line? This. Wouldn't this mean I have a pointer which points to a supply repository item but has nothing instantiated yet? So it actually points to null. Okay. So in older versions of Spring, when you okay, in older versions of Spring, or when you, oh my gosh, man, I, in older versions of Spring, or when using field injection, you'd indeed need to use the auto-wired annotation like this. But in your case, you're using constructor injection, which is actually preferred, or is actually the preferred way in modern Spring applications. When a class has only one constructor, Spring automatically injects the dependencies for you. Okay, so is it even in the constructor though? Here's the constructor, right? Supply controller. This dot repository equals repository. So apparently in here, when I'm instantiating my local variable, local member variable, it auto-wires, or it injects it right there. Okay, so what happens behind the scenes? Spring detects your supply controller bean during component scanning, okay, thanks to the REST controller up there. Okay, yeah, so it knows that it needs to create this class. Then so it notices the constructor, which is right there. Then it finds a matching bean of type supply repository in the application context. Oh, so right here, supply repository. So it knows that it needs to create this class here because of this REST controller. And then once it does so, it looks for the constructor. It has it sees the constructor, and it also sees that I passed in this object here called repository, which is of type supply repository. So it knows, hey, this constructor takes in an argument. The argument is of type supply repository. So I need to create a supply repository object myself. Spring does, I mean. And that's how it gets created. And then I assign it, bam, right there to the local member variable. Okay. That actually kind of makes sense. Okay, so then it finds a matching bean of type supply repository in the application context. Awesome. So, yeah, what's this about private final? Using private final on the field guarantees immutability. The value cannot be changed after the construction. Okay, so that means that I'm only going to get this single supply repository, this one, and it's not going to change to a different repository. Okay, that's fine. Cool. So now by kind of understand this, so we have the mappings, right? When I go to the endpoint of like, oh, here's another question I had. So get mapping, but I don't provide an actual URL. See. So this one is a post mapping. Do I just call like post add supply or something? But how does that map to an actual URL? Okay. The other question that I have is for the two API endpoints in this class. I don't actually map a URL. I just have, what is it, like annotation get mapping and then the function. Okay, and then normally, like hello, this one I have get mapping and then hello. So I'm just gonna put that here and say, this is the way I am used to seeing mappings. Okay. See what it has to say about this. So, totally understandable. What you're seeing in the Hello Controller class is actually just a more explicit and granular version of the same mapping setup you're using on the supply controller. Okay, so how URL mapping works in Spring Boot. REST control. So let me look at this. REST controller request mapping API. Okay, that's here. This one's also API, right? API supplies. Okay. And then get mapping to hello. So I need to do localhost, port, whatever the server is running on, and then I need to go /API /hello, and then I hit this right there, this endpoint. Okay, your full endpoint becomes get, yeah, that right there, what I just said. Spring combines the class level path, okay, class level path. That's what this is called, class level path. I'm just trying to put that kind of vocabulary in my brain a little bit. Class level path is what that's up there called, okay? With the method level class. Okay, well, method level class is actually pretty easy because this is the method and that's the method level class, okay. But in your supply controller, this works too. So we have the same thing. I said API and then supplies, get mapping, post mapping. Here you're using a base path of the class API supplies and reply on HTTP verbs to differentiate the behavior. Oh, okay. So I think what I'm doing, before I continue reading, I think what I'm doing is I'm going to, both are going to be to the same URL endpoint. It's going to be /API /supplies. But based off of if it is a GET request or a POST request, that's going to be routed to either one of these methods. I think that's what's going to go on. I'm going to keep reading and see if that is in fact the case. So the actual endpoints are, yep, right there. API supplies, yep. Okay, so we don't actually add, like, what I initially had thought was we were going to do API supplies and then /get all supplies or something. We don't do that. Okay, we just do API supplies, or like get API supplies, and then it goes to this one. So all I need to do is get /API /supplies, and it will automatically route it here. Okay. Awesome. So that was the second question that I have. And now let me go and continue to kind of like dig into this, and let's go and look at the repository. So now the repository, I believe, is just blank, and that's the one that I was talking about is an interface, not a class, and it extends or implements. I get those two confused, but let's look that up. Extends, okay. All right, so let's ask about this. For this, I am confused about, actually, let me just do 1, 2, 3. So 1, what is an interface and how is it different than a class? Okay. 2 is going to be interfaces have inheritance what else do they have? How does inheritance work in the context of an interface? Okay. Number 3 is going to be, what is the difference between extends and implements? Okay. All right. So, number 1, what is an interface and how is it different from a class? An interface is a contract. It's a contract. Okay. It declares what methods a class should have, but doesn't implement them. Okay, so I'm trying to think of some examples. An interface, possibly, I don't know if this is true, I'm just thinking. An interface is going to just say, like, hey, this object is going to, this computer, right, that I'm working on a laptop, is going to have a method of type and a method of click and a method of display and a method of make sound. But I don't actually create that object. I just say, like, hey, there exists something called a laptop or computer, and computer will have these methods. But I'm not creating a computer. I'm just letting you know. I'm just a dictionary, right? Like you open up a dictionary, not a data structures and algorithms dictionary. I mean, you open up a physical dictionary and you just read computer and it lets you know, like, oh, well, it has this and it has that and it has that and it has that. So you can see it, but it's not a computer. It's just words on a screen or on a piece of paper. Okay. I think that's what's going on. I'm not sure. A class, on the other hand, can declare both state variables and behavior. Okay? Implements logic and constructors. Think of an interface like a menu at a restaurant. It tells you what dishes are available. The class is the kitchen that actually cooks them. Okay? Do interfaces have inheritance and how does it work? So, I mean, obviously they do because of that right there. But let's see how it works. I'm not sure about that. I'm curious. Yep. Interfaces can inherit from other interface. Oh, okay, so I can't inherit from a class. So this Mongo repository right there must be an interface itself. It doesn't like say. Can I just like go to definition? Public interface. Okay. There we are. So it is. Nice. So I'm gonna keep reading, but we made a little bit of a connection there. So that's cool. All right. So yes, interfaces can inherit from other interfaces. In Java, an interface can extend one or more other interfaces. So I have animal and I have dog, and dog extends animal because all animals eat, but only dogs bark. Okay, but I'm not actually creating the animal. I'm just saying, like, I'm just doing a dictionary about, hey, there's something called an animal and there's something called a dog. And in the definition of a dog, I say it's an animal, which implies that it also has eat. Okay. So any class implementing dog must provide implementations for both Oh, okay. So if I want to create a class, I'm required to have those methods. So that's kind of what it does. Unique aspects of interface inheritance. No constructor, chaining, because interfaces don't have constructors, okay? No state inheritance, only method signatures. Also worth noting, okay. Class to class inheritance. Okay. Oh, this is number 3. Okay, I was like, wait, what's going on? All right, so difference between extends and implements. Let's look at that. And then I also want to figure out like so I see supply and I kind of know like okay, well supply is I have it here. I have it right where is it? Here I believe it. No, not that, not there. Model. Yeah, so I have it here. I have a class called supply and I'm importing that in. So I'm importing this class and then I put it there, but I don't know really what these angled brackets are. Is that like a parameter to the parent class? So I need to investigate that a little bit as well. But one thing at a time. So let's look at this, and then let's try to look at how these angled brackets are working, and then how it connects to the parent class, which we have here. So that's kind of how I'm gonna be trying to go forward. Okay, so difference between extends and implements. Extends used by classes and interfaces. Okay? Classes inherit from a object or interface inherits from another interface, okay? Implements class it's only used by classes and it means classes conform to the interface contract. Okay. Extends which is maybe I just watch a video online about that later. Okay. Let's try to do this. I am also noticing the angled brackets to Mongo repository. What is that doing? Part of Java. So the angled brackets are part of Java's generic system. They allow you to define a type-safe relationship. Okay. Here's what each part of the supply string means. So I saw this, that's the parent class. And it has T and ID, okay? Extends, so this interface extends from CRUD operations, which I pass in this T and ID again. So I can extend from multiple different things, apparently. So that's another question that I'm gonna ask, that I can I can inherit from multiple different things. That's interesting. Okay, so this parent class, the generic definition, Spring defines Mongo repository as this. T is the type of entity you want to manage. So that is the supply repo or something. It's here. So this is like collection supplies. So this is the name of the document, or the name of the collection of MongoDB, something like that. I don't know, man. Okay. T is the type of entity that I want to manage. ID is the type of entity's unique identifier, usually a string for the... Okay, so that's how I'm going to... That's its, what's a primary key. Alright, so applying your specific types. In my case, supply is the document class representing a MongoDB collection item. String is the type of its ID field, okay? So public interface, this tells Spring to create a repository for supply objects. Treat the document's ID as a string, okay? Automatically provide methods like save, find by ID, okay, delete, find all, etc. Generics allow you to avoid typecasting, get compile time checks, okay. Oh, then what's down here? S extends T, S insert. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my goodness. What's going on there? No repository bean. Okay, there's a lot. I mean, this is good because we're able to kind of just like, you know, start looking into this and just playing around and trying to see what's going on. So, a lot of good learning things here. I am noticing that it inherits from multiple things. Okay. So, and this is great example of multiple interface inheritance in Java, which is totally legal and super useful for designing modular, reusable components in frameworks like Spring. Okay. So this right here means Mongo repository is inheriting all method signatures from 3 different interfaces, effectively bundling their capabilities into one superpowered repository. So I'm like combining all of them. So I'm saying this Mongo repository is going to have all of the methods in this list CRUD repository interface, in this list paging and sorting repository interface, and in this query by example executor. Okay. S extends T. Okay. Let's just go back and oh, there's more. Okay, so what each interface contributes. List CRUD repository, T and ID. Basic CRUD methods, save, find by ID, delete, okay. And then this one is adds paging and sorting capabilities. The next one adds support for queries. Okay, sure. So when you extend Mongo repository, your custom repository like supply repository inherits full CRUD functionality. Okay. Yeah, that's all I care about, really, I think. I'm not using the others right now, but Mongo repository has those methods available. Okay. Cool. What is going on with those comments, some of the words are not commented out. What does that mean? And what is it doing? And what does this mean and do? All right, so you're looking at Javadoc comments, which is a special type of block commenting used to document Java classes, interfaces, and methods and fields. It starts with this double one and a single one. Inside the comments, certain patterns and symbols have special meanings, okay? Like link, apparently. Param, return, sense, link, here we go. Literal. All right, so I can have these comments and I can have the annotation and a keyword. Now, what do those do? So param describes a method parameter. Return describes the method's return value. Okay, so I think that's like in Python where I say like when I declare a function and I can do like returns something. And so I'm just like forcing a function to actually return a certain type. Sense here indicates the version that it was introduced. Link, which is right there, embeds a link to another method, save, in the same class interface. Okay. Literal tells Javadoc to render null as plain text instead of formatting it. Okay. So what does s extends t, s insert, s entity mean? Okay. This is a generic method declaration, and it's a beautiful example of flexibility and type safety in action. Okay, so s extends t declares a type parameter s, which must be a subtype of t. S insert s entity, okay, takes an object of type s and returns one of type s, okay? I don't know what it means. You're working in a generic interface, the Mongo repository. This method lets you pass in any subclass of t, okay? I'm just trying to think through, like, what does that mean? I'm passing in a subclass of t, so that means I'm the parent. Oh, which makes sense, yeah, because this one is the child, right? And I'm inheriting from the parent, which is this, but now I'm looking at the parent. So this is the parent. So that's what it means by subclass. Okay. Here we go. This method lets you pass in any subclass of t, which is what I do. I pass in a subclass, which actually the subclass is, if we look here, the subclass is not this. The subclass is supply, which is passed in as t. And so this is actually a class. This is the supply class here. So here's where it is, class, that I pass in here as t. So s extends t, and t is the subclass. Okay. This method lets you pass in any subclass of t, so I can pass in anything, and it guarantees the same type is returned. Okay. It's useful when you have polymorphic hierarchies. Okay, that's another tutorial that I need to watch. Is like, I forgot what polymorphic is. I know it's one of the basic ideas behind object-oriented programming. But I don't know. I forgot what polymorphic means. I mean, I can kind of determine from the name. Poly is many. Morphic is like morphing, so changing. So it can take on many different forms is probably what it means just based off of the English. But what that means in terms of coding and object-oriented programming, I'm not sure. I need to look that up. So it is useful for this. It says T is supply, and you have a subclass of medical supply, extends supply. Okay. All right. I mean, this is an interesting kind of. It's interesting, and we're definitely learning stuff. But I also want to like get get back into this a little bit more. Okay, so I kind of get that. So this is an interface, and I'm just saying that there's other idea or other methods out there which come from this Mongo repository, and this is where I'm getting all of the CRUD operations. So the find all, the deletes, the find by ID, etc. That's where I get it. Okay, so this is supply repository. So now I am going to go and look at where I actually render or do operations on this supply repository. So I'm going to call those methods which are in the supply repository which act on the supply class. Okay. Which should be in my controller. And there we go. Yeah. So here, that's the repository that I created. And then I do repository. So when I get mapping for a GET request to this URL, I am going to return the query of find all. And then if I do a post, I take the body of the post request and I create a supply and then I save it. So I am assuming that the body is going to have all of those fields. I believe so, right? Okay. Okay, so I think I kind of understand what's going on here in the code. Now let me go and I want to say like take a break but I'm a little bit curious about like my MongoDB, why it's not. That's gonna bug me if I can't get this. So let's try to figure out why what's going on. Okay, so I am still having trouble working with my MongoDB on my local Mac book. Okay. Then I'm going to copy and paste this error. Oh, come on. Let's see what it has to say. Okay, so error setting up listener, address already in use. Okay, so the port end here is already in use. So let me check if I have, so this one, PS, I believe lists everything. I know grep, so I'm filtering for this anything that has Mongo daemon, which is already running. So I'm getting all of the processes that are of Mongo D. Okay. There it is. So let me, I don't even know if I need to do that. I don't know if I need to kill the process. Let me see. So I did this and I get this one right there. Okay. And where's the process ID? Would it be this one or this one? Or that one? Can you explain what I am looking at? What I am looking at, and do I even need to kill it if it is already running? So I might be able to just enter the Mongo shell. Let me actually just Mongo sh. I should be. There we go. And what was the command to view tables? It was like, I forgot what that was. Okay, so absolutely, you're almost there. So the process ID, this is running Mongo daemon process. Started at Saturday 3, which is my last video, and has been running for over 4 hours. It's using this configuration file and appears healthy. This is the grep command here. Okay. All right, so key information, MongoDB server is running, okay? It's using the homebrew installed version. It's bound to the default port, which is why trying to start another Mongo daemon instance failed. Okay, so this is definitely something that I need to look into more as well, and I need to investigate. Like, when I start up a process, how does it actually start? Where does it start? I mean, I can fix this error, right? I can go to a different port. I can do 27018, and I'm guessing it will work. But I want to know, like, why and how behind the scenes things are actually operating. So I'm conflicted between, like, deep diving into that or moving forward with the project, right? Like, I need to balance all of these things. Yeah. So I think that is something that I want to kind of look into and try to figure out, like, what's up there. But anyways, so do I need to kill it? No. If the process is healthy, you're able to connect. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, I did this there. Or from compass. Can I just put this in? Okay, where is there? Can I just put this in there and what? Oh, okay. Never mind. Whatever. Is it gonna load the context? Okay, cool. So, how, now that I am in the Mongo shell, what are the commands I can use? Because I want to see the tables that I create, or the collections that I created. Okay, and so I want to see this. Show DBS, that's what I was looking for. Show DBS. Okay, so supply database right there. So that's what I want to connect to. Okay. Awesome. So I need to go to the place where I was connecting, which is here. Okay. Supply DB. Supply DB. Okay, so those are the same. I have this port number here. So 27 017. Okay. Oh, I should read some of these. Use my database switches to or creates a database named my database. Okay, DB displays the name of my current database, collection level. So I can do like show collection. So let me actually do that. So show collections. Nothing. Okay. DB my collection, insert one. Let me do that. DB, I'm just gonna insert Alice here into DB. And I believe the way that MongoDB works is if I do this, it will automatically create a database called my collections, which notice I don't have one right now. So let me do that. Okay, and now let me go back and do show DBS and see if I have something called my collection. No, I don't. I was so confident in that too, right? What if I do show collections? Okay. What? DB. Do I have something called DB? No, I don't. Oh, come on, come on. Just... Okay. So, I have this. I'm just going to delete this actually right now, because we're still investigating this part. Okay. Query enhancements. So I need to go through and try to figure out how do you can do like sorts and limits and skips and ands and ors and all of your where clauses and all of that. But for right now, I'm just gonna look into here and say like, what is this showing and where is Alice? Here's what the output is showing. You switched to test database and ran show DBS, then and show collections. Initially, there was no collections because database was empty. Okay. Because the database was empty. Show DBS. Okay. Then you inserted a document into a new collection called my collection. Okay. That document was Alice here. So after the insertion, test database. Okay, so my database that I'm operating on is test here. Oh, okay, okay. Because I'm currently in test. So how do I switch to a different database? Use, let me try this. So use new database test. And then I should be able to do the same thing. So db dot my new collection dot insert one. Okay, and then I'm gonna pass in an object here, and I'm gonna say name is Timothy, and age is 95. Okay, and then I'm gonna press enter. Now I'm gonna do show collections, and now I have this one in my, so I'm in this database and I have one right there. Okay, and then if I do show DBS, it should have all of these, but then also this new collection that I just created. Or no, this new database here, new database test that I just created. New database test right there. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I am going to be interacting with MongoDB, and I am going to be interacting with the database called SupplyDB. Okay, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just trying to get context. I'm trying to understand what's even happening on MongoDB side so that I can look at my Java and try to figure out how that's connecting. So now I kind of understand how that's working. Possibly. At least I think I understand how it's working. Now let's go and try to investigate this up here, try to figure out how to make that connection. Okay, so here is what I put in my application.properties file. How can, does this look right? Does this look right? And how can I verify that the information that I am providing to Spring, it aligns with the settings that are active on my local MongoDB? Okay. Okay, so you switch to test database and okay, well I see. Your configuration looks solid. Here's a breakdown of what you're doing. So Spring application name, producer resources. Okay, so sets the name of your Spring Boot application. Yeah, so that has nothing to do with MongoDB. That's the name of my Spring Boot application. Okay, Spring data MongoDB host equals localhost connects to MongoDB running on my local machine, so it just knows where it is. Okay, Spring data MongoDB port. So again, I don't like saying it just knows where it is. That doesn't that was a terrible sentence. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. How does MongoDB connects to MongoDB running? How does it know? How does it know where MongoDB is running on my local machine? There are so many processes that are happening on my local machine. Okay. Anyways, Spring data MongoDB port. So here's the port. Uses the default MongoDB port. Okay. Spring data database, SupplyDB tells Spring to use the supply database. Okay, that's good. We understand that. String URI. So question number 2 is for this one. Why did I not need to do spring.data.mongodb.uri? Okay. So this is a manual URI string, but since you're using the individual host port database property, Spring will build the URI for you automatically. Okay, actually that might have answered my question number 2. How to verify the connection. So here are a few ways to confirm that Spring is connected to MongoDB correctly. Check MongoDB logs. So I can just try to do like an insert. That's what I'm thinking about doing, is just doing an insert and seeing if I actually see it in my database. Yeah, so that's what it's telling me to do. What I was actually trying to mean is like, is it actually, I'm gonna do that so I can think while I'm talking. So what I was actually meaning is like, how do I verify MongoDB is actually running on this port? It was probably in one of the things that I did up here. Do I see this number? 27017. No, I don't. I see this number. Is that the port it's running on? If so, we're probably going to have some problems. Yeah. Okay, it's probably done thinking here. So how does it know where to find where MongoDB is running? So Spring doesn't magically detect MongoDB among all your local processes. It relies on you telling it where to look. Here it looks localhost is just a host name that resolves your own machine. So then it looks on this port, tells Spring to connect to the host on that port. Okay, so I guess all of my processes have a different port, I think. Okay. Spring uses these values to create a Mongo client instance internally. It doesn't scan your system for MongoDB. It assumes you've already started it. Okay, cool. You didn't need it because, so I don't actually even need this because Spring lets you configure MongoDB in 2 ways, like this or individual properties. So we used individual properties, but I was on the right track that, yeah, I could do it this way. Okay, anyways, now I feel like we got a lot done in this video and moved forward in terms of understanding how this is operating, what's going on, all of the different moving components. The next thing that I want to do in tomorrow's video is actually go and write some data, like actually verify that it is connected. So I want to do an insert one, and I want to go onto the database, and I want to see, like, is it actually working? And if not, troubleshoot it. If it is, then congratulations, we can move on and keep building this project. So that's kind of how I want to go forward. And yeah, one more thing is let's actually stop the database. So I think I can do exit. Okay. So now, how do I stop the MongoDB, the Mongo daemon? Okay. Find the well, that's not very helpful at all. Did it print something? No. Okay. So let me just do this one again. Find, it's this, what is the process ID? This one, which is the same as that. Or that's the port. That's the port here. So this is the process ID, which is this one. So I should be able to do like kill this, right? And now if I run the exact same command up here, I should get nothing. Yep, awesome. So there we go. In the next video, we're going to remember to start up our Mongo. I can see myself making that mistake. I I try to run my Java code and I get really frustrated about why am I not able to insert anything, and then it's because I didn't even start my daemon. So I'm gonna remember to start my daemon and then try to connect things. So that's for the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. That would be awesome. I would love to have you around. And my name is Timothy Lee Grant. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day.